what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of the rundown. We got two special guests in with us today, two young men that I am very proud to have on today that are accomplished in their own rights already. But as I mentioned, two extremely young men who are only continuing to go further in the new heights. Want to welcome in PJ Duke and Matty Lopes. Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Matty?
I'm doing pretty well.
Cool. So in talking to you guys before we did the interview, before we got here and started this interview, got to catch a little bit of your guys' accomplishments over the years. You guys got some pretty good resumes going on for yourself. So obviously you guys have been introduced to the sport at a very young age. Can you guys talk to me about that first experience getting into a wrestling room? And was it something that you guys kind of embraced early on, or was it just like you kind of had to learn to like it?
I'll go first. So when I was like younger, I started off in karate. So I was like, at the time I was 3. So then I just like, when I was like little, I used to have like ADHD and stuff. So I'd be running around the house and stuff. So then I got into karate, and like my parents saw that would really calm me down, and I'd pretty much go every day, and I'd like, it almost like be like, kind of like I don't know how to explain it, but it basically just be like have my thing to get away from everything and then basically that helped me get into wrestling because I was really good at karate, and I was pretty much like beating up all the kids when I was little. So when I started doing the wrestling, I was probably like 4 at the time, so I've been doing karate for a little bit. So when I first got there, it was at Carmel Youth, and at the time you had to be at least 5 to wrestle, and I was only 4. But the coaches let me try out at the beginning, and then they saw how good I was and how focused I was, and then they just let me join in, and that's where it all started.
How about you, Matty?
So for me, it was a little bit different. I started about like when I was 7, so I started a little bit later than PJ. But my family, my both uncles had already started wrestling, so I was a little introduced a little bit to the family. And then I was also like all over the house, like always energetic. So then my sister brought home a tryout paper from school and was like, "You're always fighting with me. Why not try to go do this wrestling?" So my dad was like, "All right, let's go." So then once I went to my first practice, I really started to like it, but I wasn't so crazy into it, like where I really wanted to start building off it, like how I am now. So then just about like maybe like not even like 2 or 3 years ago, I really noticed that like I could do something with this. So then that's when I really started like take some action, and that's where it like really started.
Very cool. Now, PJ, I gotta send an apology your way, man. I did an interview with Coach KD and somebody else. Kind of slipped up and mentioned that you were a freshman. You're actually in 8th grade. It's interesting too that you said that you were supposed to be at 5 years of age when you got into the youth program. You were 4. You won a state title as a 7th grader, but it's not just the fact that you won a state title as a 7th grader. You really dominated your way through the state tournament. Can you kind of talk to me a little bit about that experience? And, you know, for you specifically, you were on track to accomplish something that's never really been done before. What's going through your head following that state tournament?
Me personally, like I try not to get my head full. I try to keep it as any other tournament, but like if you really think about it, it's pretty cool to be able to be like only in 7th grade and be able to wrestle with the high school kids, and now 8th grade being wrestled with them. Because when I first got in there, like I was probably like 100 pounds, and something like that, even the heavyweight was like being nice to me. So it was pretty cool. But honestly, it's just any other tournament. That's how you got to keep it, because if you just start thinking about like, oh, it's a state tournament, it's this, that's when you start to go in there and you start to be like, oh my gosh, it's a state tournament, I can't lose. But if you're just like, it's just another tournament, you just got to wrestle how you wrestle in any other tournament, and it doesn't really change. But honestly, it's just another tournament. So even if like, say I go to the state tournament every other year, even if I lose a year, it's just a tournament, it's just a sport. So try to keep it like that.
Right on. Matty, you actually you mentioned how you were kind of getting into fights, I guess, and everything like that. So what can you talk to me specifically more about how like wrestling was something that helped you? I guess what was it? Something that kind of helped you get some things out that you were maybe holding in.
Yeah, so I was always like messing with my sister all the time. She's a little bit older. So then once my dad also saw that, he was like, there's this wrestling, you can really learn how to fight people. And then I was like, okay, let's go. I was like excited and I got there and you couldn't even punch or kick. I was like, what is this first? So and then I was like a little surprised. But then after that, like about the first 2 or 3 practices, I got a call from my uncle and he was like, I heard you're wrestling. And then I was like, yeah, and he's like, "Did you know that I wrestled?" And at that point, I didn't. So I learned that both of them had wrestled. So then that kind of like went on with me. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be the third one to do this for my family." So then I kind of went on to do that, and it really helped me like also get my energy out as a little kid when I was smaller, because I was always around the house, and my mom was like, "You need to go to." There was some days where I didn't go, and she was like, "You need to go back to practice." She's like, "You need to go." So then I went, and it worked out since then. I really liked it, and even since now, I still got to get some energy out too. I'm still around the house, so it's pretty good.
Right, right. So for both of you guys, what were kind of the things? At what point did you guys know that did you guys really like hone in and realize that you guys were both going to be pretty successful at this? And what were kind of the things that you were doing at a young age that helped your progression?
So like I was always pretty successful when I was wrestling. Even when I was kind of younger, I'd still like do decent at the tournaments, but I'd say like not around like right around 3 or 4 years ago is when I really started to do good. Like I'd go to these national tournaments and I'd be winning them. And even though like 5, 6 years ago I'd be winning like the state tournament, but it was like wrestling like 6 year old, 7 year olds. So like but once like I was around 10 years old, 11, that's when I started to see like the improvement that I've been making and that how I can compete with like some of the older guys, like the middle schoolers when I was only in elementary school. And it was pretty cool to see how I went from being like a nobody to actually doing something with it.
Yeah, for me, it was just about like 3 years ago for PJ where like I really took it serious at a point, and so it kind of was like a crazy part of my life where me and PJ and like us went on a judo tournament in Florida, and that was about like 3.5 years ago. And I'd gone there and we flew all the way down. My parents paid all the money, and I hadn't done so good. I didn't even place. I only won like one match. So and then after that, and I was with PJ, being around PJ too, it helped that I noticed that I'm not doing so well here. Something has to change. So then after that, in the summer, I worked pretty hard. And then the season came, and I noticed that all the work I put in really helped me and made a change. And then from there on out, I knew that I could take this more serious. And then that's when everything started to happen.
Right on, right on. So you guys, I know you guys are training partners and talking to Coach KD. You guys work out together with him and the private sessions that he does a lot. When did you guys get a chance to meet each other, and how do you feel that you two have really helped each other move forward?
I think the first time we met was probably like 5 years ago at it used to be called Iowa Style, the youth place, but now it's Empire Wrestling Academy. We met there a really long time ago, but probably yeah, like I said 5 years ago, I'd say like 2015. And we we used to go, but I've been wrestling for a little longer. So I kind of like almost like taught him a little bit. I helped him out. And then his uncle, we started going to his gym called Total Form Fitness, and then he opened up a judo place as well. So we'd go there for judo, wrestling, and we were partners pretty much the whole time. So we'd go there for judo, and also there was a guy there who taught us some wrestling too. But we've pretty much been partners for almost our whole wrestling careers, and it's pretty much nothing that could take that away. I mean, we're pretty much the closest friends, and it's pretty cool to see how we can wrestle together, win big tournaments, like how we won Super 32 together. That was really cool to see.
Right, right. But Matty, I know you got a big win over Nick O'Neill about I want to say 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, just about 2 weeks ago.
What did I'm sure PJ helped you out with that as well as far as the preparation goes for both of you guys. What went into training for that event, And specifically for you, Matty, what was it like getting into that match? Obviously, he's a top ranked guy, and watching that match, you were all over him, especially on the feet. So what was the preparation like for both of you guys getting Matty ready, and Matty, what was the game? I guess what was the game plan for you going into that match? Was it just like you wanted to wrestle freely, or was it because I know Mike Mall, who was covering the match, mentioned he was a little on his heels a little bit. Was it stuff that he was giving away to you, or was it just kind of you wanted to do what you were doing?
Yeah, so preparing for that match, I was able to have PJ and Justin Lopez. So those two kids already like were a big help for me. But then like just watching film too. So I saw that he competed not too long ago. So then we sat down and watched some film, and I learned his what he does. So then we went in the wrestling room. PJ helped me a lot. He was there basically almost every day with me, training in the positions that I need to get in. So like the scrambling positions, knowing that he's gonna go for those scrambles. So then going to that match, I knew that he was gonna try to scramble. I knew how he was gonna try to roll, do those type of things. So then in the room we worked on just like finishing, clearing my ankles, stuff like that. And then when I went into the match, I felt really good on my feet. I felt like I was able just to control them just the way I was moving. And then like wrestling PJ too, it felt like when I was moving, I felt so much faster than him, because PJ is also such a fast wrestler. So then it helps me a lot when I went down there. The kid felt just much slower than wrestling in practice, so it helped a lot.
Well, we mentioned how both of you guys are training partners. I know you guys started out at Iowa Style, now it's Empire and everything. Was that your introduction to Coach KD?
Yeah. So, I've known KD since he was in high school, so I've known him a while because he used to go to Iowa Style, which is what it was, but it changed to Empire now. So that's when I met him.
How about you, Matty?
Yeah, I met him. I had seen him in the club, but not really known who he was back then. And I was still back and forth with, I'm also from Connecticut, so I was training at my hometown club. And then about 3 years ago, when my club was changed to Empire, when they changed the location in Danbury, Connecticut, that's when I really got to know him as my coach. And that's when like it really made a big difference when he took me in. And then that's when he started giving me like the private lessons. And then PJ came down. So then like that's when he really started to take a toll.
What's he done for you guys as a coach? Like, because with him, he's in a, when I got the chance to talk to him, we talked about it a little bit, but he's in a unique position because usually guys like they'll wrestle in high school, then they'll wrestle in college, and then they might want to get back to coaching. He finished his high school career and then went straight to coaching. So what's kind of, because I'm sure you guys have been around a lot of high level coaches throughout your career, especially with the success you both have. What's made him different for you guys, and what makes him such a good coach?
Me personally, I think some of the things that make him a good coach are he has any connection you'd ever need. He literally knows everyone in the country that you could ever want to talk to, and he's gotten us like ways to train with Mike Mock, Roman. We train with a college guy every day. He went to Penn State, now he's at JU. I mean, his connections are just like you can always rely on them. He can basically get you with anyone you want. It's pretty cool to have that with you.
For me, I'd say that he's a really well-spoken coach, but he's also like always determined. So like when I asked him that I needed help setting up for Journeyman, he was there and he was like, all right, let's do it. He gave me my training plan. He's like, you're gonna do this, this, this. And then every day he's texting me. He's like, are you doing this? What's your weight? So like when you ask him for help, he's there. Like he pays attention. He gives his full 100%. So like that's a really good thing that he has.
Most def. Now, PJ, we're going back to you with a lot of the success you had very young and everything. We mentioned earlier in the interview how you won a state title in dominant fashion as a seventh grader. When did you know that you were going to come up to compete at the varsity level as a seventh grader, and what was that like? Was it something you embraced, or was it a little fear there?
So I pretty much knew living in New York. I saw how Yanni and like Vito, they would come up as seventh graders. So I knew that I'd follow in their footsteps and also do the same. I mean, there was definitely like a little bit of fear in it because I knew I'd be wrestling some really older guys, and I knew that I probably wouldn't be the strongest either. But I knew that I would definitely do well, like with my past and how it would help me with my and I have all these good coaches helping me with all my technique and stuff. So I knew I'd do good. It was just about my performance at the tournament and stuff. I clearly had a good performance, but pretty much now still, I think if I wrestle to like the best of my full potential, I could definitely hang with almost anyone. So I think that was the biggest problem, was just me performing to my best, which I think I did it pretty well at the state tournament this year.
Yeah, most definitely, and I can certainly agree with that. I see you got the Troy Nickerson poster behind you. You know, the New York has a rich history of guys like that. And we also mentioned earlier how you were on track to do something that nobody else had done. Like when you take into account guys like Troy, who was the first ever 5-time state champ, or Jesse Jansen, the first ever 4-timer, you know, Nayani, and you know, the amazing accomplishments he had, as well as Vito, and you know, a guy, I don't know if you're familiar with JP O'Connor and those guys. Like, that's something that, you know, you look at, are those guys you kind of look at as like inspiration to go out and accomplish the things that you're doing being from New York? Or is it even like seeing them, you want to like maybe get past like what they were doing?
Yeah. When I see, like, I'm sure everyone who wrestles know who Yanni is, and I'm sure how you see him, even when he competed the other day, he always performs like to his best. He dominates everyone he wrestles, and I think that's a good way to kind of follow him. Like us both being New Yorkers, I think it'd be cool, like having him to be that good, and then having me to come up and be as good as him as well.
Right on, right on. You know, Matty, I want to get back to you now. Because you mentioned you were from Connecticut. Obviously, Connecticut doesn't have the richest history with wrestling, but it does have its fair share of accomplished wrestlers. Obviously, you know, Kevin Jack and Ryan Jack are coming out of there. There's a few other guys as well. You're at Blair now. You're a freshman. You know, what went into the decision to go to Blair? Was it just you wanted to find ways to take your wrestling to another level? Because obviously Blair has a rich academy, whether you talk about Steve Mocco, Zach Esposito, Mark Perry. I believe actually believe that Corey Cooperman did some prep time over there too. So was it the history that made you want to go there? Or was it just kind of looking at what the situation you were in now, wanting to just get somewhere that was going to help you out even more?
Just looking at the school, I didn't, to be honest, about 2 years ago, it was almost like a dream. I never thought that I would be able to go there, because I would always see them on TV, like the top 3 high schools in the country, and they would always be in there. So, and then just about then, I was talking to my dad, and I was like, Dad, our school here in Danbury is nice, but like I want to take my wrestling to the next level, like you said, but academically, they were really high. So then I was like, all right, Dad, how about we just take a chance and see how it goes? So then I ended up getting in, and when I got in, I was like, okay, this is where I want to go 100%. And just like academically, in the wrestling, of course, is really good, but just looking at those 2 standards, it like really was like just the best choice for me.
What's the experience been like for you over there? Like when you walk in, is it just like, well, because I kind of liken it to what a lot of guys say when they head to Penn State. Like I've heard rumors with Mark Hall that he was going to commit to another college, and as soon as he got to Penn State, he just looked in and said, "Whoa, like I have to go here. This is crazy." So for like you going to Blair, was it kind of like a similar thing?
Yeah, once I got there on campus for the first time, I was like in shock for a second. I was lost. Like the campus was huge, and what it kind of changed was like when I went to the wrestling practice the first time there, I noticed how everyone was like so close with each other as like brothers, you know? And even the whole campus, even not on wrestling, but once I saw how close they were, and I saw how even close the coaches were with all the kids, like how they treated them, and I was like, I really like this place. This can be a home for me. So and then that's when I really made my decision.
Right. You know, PJ, you know, we're talking about like a lot of these guys that accomplished some high feats in New York coming before you. What's your relationship with a lot of those guys? I know you mentioned Yanni before. Do you like, have you ever gotten a chance to meet like Troy or Jesse or even a Nick Piccinini, or even like getting a chance to be around Yanni and Vito?
I've definitely had the chances to be around Yanni and Vito, but not some of like the more older guys. But I've seen like Yanni and Vito. I've gone to like camps at Volgar before, so I've got to like wrestle next to them, and I've seen Yanni. I've went up to his house before. His dad has like a garage and they do practice there. I've been there before. It was pretty fun. It was pretty cool, like, because I almost got to like hang out with them. It's like, even when like you can look up to him, like a guy like Yanni and like even like other guys like Roman, and then you like before you meet them, you just look up to them like as gods. But as soon as you hang out with them, they're just normal people and they're like really nice and chill with you. And it's pretty cool to see how you almost become friends with them, even though they're like #1 wrestlers in the world. It's really cool.
Right, right. So now, again, going back to your New York State accomplishments, you had the chance to do something that's never been done, but there's never been a 6-time New York State champion in the history of New York State wrestling. There's been guys that came close, but for various reasons weren't able to do it. You were on track to do that, as well as possibly be the first undefeated guy to do it. With COVID going on, like, what, is it disappointing that you can't get to that now, or is it just like, you're moving on to the next thing and trying to be a 5-timer?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bummer, but for me, my biggest opinion is I don't think high school is going to be my biggest thing. College isn't even going to be the biggest thing either. I'm trying to win the Olympics. I'm trying to win the worlds at senior levels. So even if like a little state championship I don't get to win, I don't think that's really going to change my career or my future. I'm looking on bigger, better things like the Olympics and stuff like that.
Right, right. That's a great answer. Now, Matty, for you, what are you looking to do? What are you looking to do here? It's your first year at Blair. I'm not even familiar with. I know the New York State tournament is canceled this year. How's do you have any idea what's going on with the prep season going forward this season?
Yeah, so like basically most of our season has been canceled. They canceled like one of the big national tournaments like Beast of the East, Iron Man, and then I'm pretty sure Preps is like basically canceled too. So some of that stuff is down, so it kind of sucks that I wasn't even gonna get a chance to go out and do my best at those tournaments. But like coach is always telling us too, like, it's all right, you can't do anything about it, so just keep on moving on, so that's what we've been doing, on just practicing. And even when, like PJ said, even like if 1 year is gone, the future is still ahead, so we still have a bunch ahead.
Right, right. PJ, I heard an interesting story about you, man. Going back, KD's telling me you were a pretty young guy at the time, that you had lost a match, and the first thing you said when you get off the mat is, "I needed that." That's a pretty mature answer, and you're giving me even more of that, which with the answer to the last question I asked you. Like, how do you develop a mentality like that?
Yeah, so I remember that match. There was a point where I've been wrestling for like 2 years and I hadn't lost a match, and there was like no motivation really at practice. Like, I just go to practice to go to practice, and there was nothing to really work for. So after that match, I knew that there was finally something to work for, finally someone to go after. Because I'm sure you've heard many sayings like, it's hardest to stay at the top and not to climb the mountain. So that's pretty much what would happen. I was at the top for so long, it was hard to stay up there. So as soon as someone came up, then it's starting to climb the mountain again. So it's good to finally work for something and finally to go after someone to get back on top.
Right on, right on. Matty, when you hear stuff like that, like, do you have like a similar approach as him?
Yeah, so I kind of learned from PJ, like when I started wrestling. I kind of saw how he was beating me up when I first got to practice. Like at where I was from in Connecticut, the wrestling wasn't so good. So I was like, my dad was like, all right, let's go see if we can find some better practice partners. So then that's when I went to ISW and I met PJ. And then my mentality was totally different at that time. So then just hanging around about PJ with for 2-3 years, I learned that a loss is something that I can build off of. And especially like now I learned that too. So I learned from basically hanging around with PJ a good amount. I was able to see like how his mentality was, and that helped me make a big leap.
Right, right, right. So what's next for you guys, man? Obviously, with PJ, I believe the season, the regular season is still going to be in effect. We're just not going to have a state tournament. So, what's next for you guys? Obviously, Matty, you're saying a lot of stuff is canceled, but there's still some events out there. So, what are you guys planning on doing?
So there's obviously been a few matches like on the cards for Flow and stuff. So I'm planning to be on a few of those coming up. But there's also going to be like different ones like on Rofkin and other things. So I'm going to be on a few of those. And then also, I'm pretty sure New York is having like a few dual matches like against local teams. So I'll be looking forward to that with my new team, Minnesink. So I think that'll be pretty cool.
How about you, Matty?
For me, I have like a few matches like PG, like a few all-star matches on Flow and Rockfin coming up. I think the nearest one is going to be Rockfin in February. But other than that, it's just like training, getting better. And we'll see in the summer. There's also those big tournaments if they don't get canceled, like Fargo, stuff, tournaments like that. So looking forward to that too.
Right. PJ, you mentioned you're over at Minnesink now. Minnesink definitely had its fair share of successful high school wrestlers come out of there. What went into that decision to transfer over there?
For me, it was pretty much a clear decision. I've pretty much almost lived here for my whole life. Like I've been over here pretty much like once a week for my whole wrestling career. I've been wrestling at the underground for a while. So I just have like, it's like family over here, have so many friends, kind of like how Matt and went to Blair and saw how the people were family over there and they were like, the coaches were nice to them. I saw that here and I saw I need to go there. I need to be there. And it was a pretty obvious choice for me.
Right on, man. So I guess before I get out of here, man, is there anything else you guys want to share with me before we move on?
Nah, I'm good.
It's all good.
All right, man. I want to thank you guys for coming on, man. This was real enjoyable. I'm looking forward to seeing both of your careers blossom moving forward. Hopefully we can get back to normalcy here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, man. What's up?
Thank you for having us.
Oh, no. Thank you guys for coming on, man. So that's PJ Duke, Matty Lopes, and Rich Perez. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.